I have an update on my borked engine. A couple of things have happened since yesterday once I thought that I fixed the engine. First of which is that I actually didn't. I drove to McDonald's this morning, everything was great, got my McGriddles. When I was driving home, I was going 50 miles an hour on the highway and then it just died. My power steering cuts out, I have to turn my hazards on and like kind of coast into a parking lot so I can restart my engine. There were no codes and the engine started right back up. So that's kind of bad. You think that and you're like, oh no, your car is terrible. But that helps us with our diagnosis. Originally, my car was only stalling when it was idled, so I was imagining that that was because of my idle air control valve. I thought that this thing was the problem, but now that I know that this happens during more situations than just idling, that helps me diagnose the problem. We have a bunch of car work to do today. I got some things from the auto parts store. This is going to fix my windows. We got all of our window regulators right here. I think I found the problem with my car. I think it's my fuel pump. Let me show you something. Luckily on this car, the fuel pump is able to be accessed without needing to drop the tank. Okay, let's pull this guy off. I was filling up my tank earlier today, and I noticed that my car smelled like gas. All of the gas was bubbling up from this seal right here, so this is not properly in. You know what can cause a car to stall? Not getting fuel. Oh, it smells like gas so much. Yeah, there's definitely not a good seal on this. First thing we do is we just disconnect all of the connectors, all of the electrical stuff. There we go. Now we can push this connectors out of the way. Now we just need to take off each of these individual hoses. They're just pinch clamps. You pinch them and you pull them off. Wait, actually, before I pull those off, there's probably pressurized fuel in them. So I'm going to go start the car with the fuel pump turned or unplugged so that we can get all of the fuel out of those lines. If I didn't do this and I unplugged those cables, gas would probably just start spewing out. You want to run the engine until it cannot start. That means there's no gas in the lines at all. Now back to the pulling of lines. Oh no, I'm definitely spilling gas. Rip. I guess that's just gonna happen. I should probably get some towels. Shop towels are just the best thing. You always want to have these on hand because basically everything you do in your car makes a mess. There we go. That'll like catch the spillage while we pull these off. There we go. After a little bit of fiddling, we were able to get all of the lines off and we were able to get the electrical connectors out. So now what we need to do is we need to twist the pump and get this little ring around it off and pull the fuel pump out. Now, seeing as how a fuel pump like this is about $300 to AutoZone, I am capable of just buying a new one, but I want to see if I can repair this one first, see if I can find out what the problem is, and see if I can't fix it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean everything up, because it's kind of gunky. This is how you can tell how much fuel you have, based on like how high up this goes. You can see that it's based on like a motor right here. This is how it tells how full your can is. Look at this, you can see that there's actually like huge chunks of rust in my fuel filter, or my fuel pump. So, yeah, my gas canister in there probably should be cleaned. What I'm using to clean this is something called mass airflow sensor cleaner. Basically, it's got alcohol in it and it'll evaporate dry, so I'm able to clean this stuff and it won't leave like a residue or anything on any of the components. Another thing I noticed that actually made me think that my fuel pump is the problem is that sometimes my fuel gauge will just go to zero. Like I know that I have fuel in the tank, but my fuel gauge will just stop, or it'll go all the way up to full. So there's definitely something wrong with the sensor. And looking at this now, let me show you. Can you see all of this rust that's on the sensor right there? We're just going to scratch that off and we're going to see if we can clean this up. We're just going to take a little bit of sandpaper and we're just going to scratch that rust off. Look at all of the rust that came out of my fuel pump. That's not a great sign. It's not a great sign. I bet my fuel filter is really doing overtime. There we go. I've cleaned her. I've scraped off a bunch of rust. Let's see if this fixes any of my stalling problems. It's likely it won't. I will probably need to replace it. I just want to try to fix it beforehand. To put it back into the car, we just repeat all of the steps that we did the first time in reverse. Perfect. We got the fuel pump reinstalled and I don't see any leaks this time. Hopefully my car won't stall anymore. Got the plate put back on. Now let's put this carpet back down. The next thing we need to do today is we need to fix my windows. Basically the window regulator, the thing that actually slides up and down, water got in there and it rusted the cables and so they broke. And so the motor didn't actually connect to anything. That one is fine, the motor's just weak, so I'm just going to replace them both. And we can see we got our packages right here. So we basically just got to go throw them in and install them. They're pretty easy to do. Before we actually get to that though, we need to glue some stuff. See, this is the window that was in the door that I told you rusted. And you can see one of these bolts is properly glued onto the window. This is what actually pulls the window up and down. But this one broke off, so we need to like super glue this back onto place. They are essentially just clamps with like tar attached to them so that they stick to the window really well. But super glue is basically the same thing, right? Gotta wipe off the area so that the glue will stick properly. Then we're just gonna drop some super glue on here and hope that it does the trick. Perfect. Now we'll let this dry while we actually go work on the regulators. Cut. Okay, let's check this guy out. Yes, there we go. We got a regulator and we got a motor right there. Let's go install this. I think this is the one for the left side. I don't think it matters. I don't think there's a difference between left side and right side. I hope not. So this isn't exactly a tutorial because I've already done some of the work. As you can see here, I've already taken parts out. I'm not going to try to teach you guys how to do this. I'm just going to have you guys sit there and watch me while I do it. Let's pull all of this plastic down. I really don't know what this plastic is for. I think it's to like keep sound out or maybe keep water out or something. We'll put it back eventually. Probably. I'm not sure which side is up. Up? Does that look up to you? Actually, I think this might be the left side. We will find out real quick, I'm sure. I think it's too tall. Is this even the right part? Pretty sure this is on backwards. We'll put this here and go get the other one. Installing them is honestly really easy. There's like a couple of bolt holes, you screw them in, and then this will stay in place. This is the thing that slides up and down that actually takes your window with it. We're going to screw the bolt that we super glued on over there to this guy right here, and then this will slide up and down, taking the window with it. Now we should have a working window. Let's turn the key, turn the car on. Let's find our little window switch, and look at that. Now we just need to like actually attach the window to it. This is probably one of those things I'm gonna regret doing with one hand, because if I drop this glass, that would suck. Things I do for YouTube. Now we just need to lower the window enough so that one of these bolts comes here so we can screw a screw in there, and the other one will come in here. So we just need to lower it a little bit, screw that one in, lower it a little bit more, and screw that one in. Okay, I got the window glass put in. You can see it goes up and down, but it's really stuck. So we're gonna take some grease and we're gonna grease this thing so that the window slides a little bit easier. We're going to stick the nozzle right in the channel where the window is, and we're gonna spray the grease. You can see that the grease is coming up there. That should let the window slide much easier through this. Check it out. All the way up and all the way back down. What you guys didn't see on camera is how many times I had to take the glass out and put it back in, because there's like guides, there's like weather sealing guides here that the window has to be perfectly snug into. So this took like 4 hours, mostly because I've never done this before and I'm not very good at it, but damn, I'm not in a good mood. Now we've got to scrape off all of this residue from when I was holding this up with tape. Razor blades are good at that. Now we just need to reattach the door panel and do all of the exact same stuff to that side over there. We just take this guy, and there's some clips that you'll just clip on, and we basically just throw him back on top of the door like that. Now we can throw these two motor assemblies away, but before we do, I want to show you what actually failed on this one. So if you take a look at this, you can see the frayed wires there. That's rust. That is because this metal cable that is inside of this rusted. There's a motor right here which twists. When it turns, this motor gets pulled in and this wire gets pushed out, and that causes these things to slide up and down. This one rusted, and so it wasn't able to pull or push things anymore. But we can throw these away, so good riddance. Okay, it's been a couple hours. I've tested it out. The windows work beautifully. They are still waterproof, so good. My car still stalls. So I'm just going to buy a whole new fuel pump, and everything that we did for that one was just diagnostics, I guess.